EOS Level 10 meeting. Gonna go through the agenda, wanted to say why we have a Level 10 meeting. Why should you have any meeting? Any meeting that you have should increase communication, should increase efficiency, and to get everybody on the same page. So I think that's what a Level 10 meeting does. Let's go through the agenda. We start with good news. We share our best and best. So the best thing that's happened to you personally, the best thing that's happened to you professionally. Starting a meeting with good news makes a more positive meeting. So if you start a meeting with negativity, you have a more negative meeting. If you start a meeting with positivity, you have a more positive meeting. Second agenda item is the scorecard review. So we go through our measurables on the scorecard and make sure that we all understand if we're on track or off track for the goals that we set for all of our measurables. This increases the data component within our EOS model. We move on to the ROC review. So we have set our goals, we have set our ROCs, we've set our priorities for the next 90 days. We need to check in on them on a weekly basis to make sure that we're on track. If it's off track, we can drop it down to the issues list. Same thing with scorecard items. You'll see what the issues list is in a minute, but we drop it down to the issues list. We move on to customer and employee headlines. We check in with our customers, we check in with our team to make sure that we all understand everybody's happy, everybody's healthy. These are headlines. This is not the entire story. This is what's happening, high level headlines with employees and customers. A quick 5 minutes there as well. These again are reporting only. If you start discussing these things or telling stories in this part of the meeting, your meeting is gonna go off the rails. Move into the to-do list. So checking out on to-dos and making sure that these are getting done. 90% of your to-dos should be getting done every single week. If 90% aren't getting done, that's an issue. We move on to the issues list or IDS. We track issues. Again, issues are anything unresolved. So it could be a challenge, could be an obstacle, what's going on in your company. Ideally at leadership team level, these are working on the business issues. So we go through an issues list, we prioritize those issues, then we use an issue solving track called IDS to solve these issues. So IDS stands for identify, discuss, and solve, IDS. Move from one to the other. So identify the real issue, identify the core, identify the root cause. Find a lot of times the things on the issues list are symptoms of something bigger. So let's dig down and see what it is the real issue. So find the real issue and then move on to discussion, then move on to a solve. A solve is typically an action or to-do or a decision. And those become to-dos for next week. So we check on to make sure we actually did them. So let's identify the real issue, let's discuss it, and then let's solve it. We go through issue number 1, that's the highest priority. Move on to issue number 2, move on to issue number 3. Sometimes we get 1 or 2 or 3 issues solved in a weekly level 10 meeting. If they're the most important issues, doesn't matter how many you get solved. This is 60 minutes of a 90-minute weekly meeting. This is the meat and potatoes. This is the most important part of this meeting. You need to be solving issues. All these other things flow into issues. If something's off track with ROCs, something's off track with scorecard, they flow into issues. Issues is where you should be spending a majority of your time during this meeting. With exactly 5 minutes to go, you move to conclude. You recap the to-dos. So we make sure we're on the same page with what we said we're gonna do. We see if there's any cascading messages. So is there anything we talked about during this meeting that needs to be communicated to another department, another team member, anybody else in the organization? So what are those cascading messages? And then we rate the meeting 1 through 10. It's called a level 10 meeting because your meeting should be rated a level 10. If you're not having level 10 meetings, follow this agenda. If you're not having level 10 meetings and they're not rated level 10, make them better. As we work through the level 10 agenda and you start implementing this in your business, you find that this agenda is better than most meeting agendas. So you're going to eventually, you'll replace other meetings. You'll find meetings on your schedule that say, this meeting or production meeting or this weekly meeting that we already have with this department. You're going to start using this agenda because it's going to be superior to all of those other meeting agendas that you're currently using. Spinning this 90-minute meeting every single week with your leadership team will increase communication, will increase efficiency. So you should leave technology out of this meeting, leave your phone out of this meeting. You should be scheduling this meeting every single week, blocking off this time. It should be sacred every single week. So block this time off, prepare to engage with your team. This should be the most important 90 minutes you spend with your team every week.